You're listening to the Huddle Up Podcast with Chad Jensen and Zack Kelberman. Join Broncos Country's deep divers at milehighhuddle.com and sound off. And now it's time to drop some knowledge.
Okay, we are live. We'll let the screen breathe just for a few seconds. You all know the drill. Welcome in, everybody, to the Huddle Up Podcast, presented, as always, by Mile High Huddle and powered by Overtime Media. I'm your host, Chad Jensen, and with me, as always, my partner in crime, my fellow football priest. You know him, you love him. He is Zack Kelberman. Zack, we were hoping when we signed off with our community last night that we'd have perhaps a little bit more to talk about Monday night in terms of news, see what happens with DeMar Dotson. Yeah, dude, it was pretty much a dead day. However, on the newswire anyway, there are a couple of nuggets that we want to convey to the community. Make sure you guys miss absolutely nothing as it relates to your Denver Broncos, including more shade getting thrown Denver's way, Drew Lock's way by NFL Network. And then also the Denver Broncos released their training camp schedule. But, dude, we just need football to get here ASAP. What's the latest that you've heard on college football?
The Sun Belt and Conference USA, I believe, are going to play this year. I mean, it's like every state right now with CV, Chad. They have different governing rules and they have different, this could be limited fans, this is no fans, this is full fans. Some conferences will play this season based on what I'm hearing today, and others have opted out. It's going to be like that until there's a consensus. I saw Trevor Lawrence put out like a unionizing statement last night coming together for the Power 5 conferences. I don't know if they're going to unionize, but I'd be shocked, again, if the SEC, the ACC, those conferences do not play this fall. I don't know how it's going to shake out for college football in terms of drafting or the NFL or scouting, but I would be shocked, aghast, if the SEC and the big boys don't play in September.
I was happy to wake up and see the "we want to play" hashtag trending on Twitter. The fact that these college athletes, they realize that they're playing careers, especially those who have their eye on playing at the next level. It's finite, man. And it's a young man's game. And you can't just take a year away from them and expect them to just, I'm sure a fraction of them are going to be like, whatever, shrug it off, charge it to the game, as it were. But those who really have ambition towards taking their game to the next level, like, this is a threat to your career. It's not necessarily going to derail it, per se, but it's a potential threat to your career, to whatever momentum you've established as an athlete. And if I were them, I'll be honest with you, I'd be jumping on that "we want to play" bandwagon all day long.
So would I. If I'm a Trevor Lawrence type, or even not even a superstar player like Trevor Lawrence, if I have an opportunity to use my collegiate experience to catapult to the NFL and make millions of dollars and play professionally, realize my dreams, I'm going to do that. But it's out of their hands. They're not being paid. They're at the mercy of the NCAA, of their own athletic departments. It's tough for these student athletes. It's a lot different than the NFL, two different animals completely. I'm still happy, though, Chad. I'm not the biggest college football guy. I'm just happy, again, that we have NFL to look forward to starting next month. It's only a month away. It's crazy.
Word on the street is that DeMar Dotson is going to be signed by Tuesday. That a deal, we already know, as we talked about on last night's show, that a framework is in place. Parameters, I think, is the verbiage that KUSA's Mike Kliss used. And he followed up on that today on local area radio with the expectation that this deal is going to be signed tomorrow and DeMar Dotson will soon be a Denver Bronco. We're going to get into all that here in just a few seconds. First, though, I want to welcome in those of you who have been hanging out in the room and who have joined us here. We got Zeus in the house. What's up? Ernie, what's up, my friend? Of course, Mehmet. We got Costa. We got Buana, of course, as always. We got Sykes Toy, Brian, a.k.a. BG, in the house. Football Fanatic, what's going on? The Robot of Doom. Well, that sounds ominous. What's up, Doom? We'll just call you Doom. Kevin, Dennis, what's going on? Speaking of Dennis, though, Zach, we hate when we miss a Super Chat superstar. And just real quick, we want to shout out Dennis Woods. Last night, as we were signing off, we realized we missed his Super Chat at the 11th hour. So, Dennis, if you're with us tonight, we love you. Dennis Woods, in our hearts. As always, my friend, we appreciate your support. And as I told you privately after last night's stream, when we realized we missed you, we were going to shout you out at the top of this show. So anyway, Zach, before we dive into the main crux of tonight's podcast, get into some of the other topics that need to be dissected, quick matters of business, gang. Make sure you're following the podcast on Twitter. That's how you keep your finger on the pulse of what's happening with this show in real time. While you're at it, it's at Huddle Up Pod. While you're at it, you want to also follow at Mile High Huddle, the mother account. You check those two things. You're not going to miss anything I publish, anything Zach publishes covering the Denver Broncos, any of the guys, and, of course, any of the podcasts. Also, we want to draw your attention gently to the merch store. Head on over to huddleuppod.com. Get your swag on. As you can see, I am wearing a new Mile High Huddle hat. It was actually Luke Patterson that debuted the MHH trucker hat on these streams on Saturday night's podcast. But mine showed up. It's nice. It's stitched. It's tight. It's bright. It's very nice. Christy, the queen of MHH, she got hers today as well. You got to send us a selfie. You know, we'll vault that. Kathy, oh, awesome. She got hers as well. Kathy, cool. Make sure you send us a selfie. And if you don't want to, if you feel uncomfortable, it's all good. Don't worry about it. But we like being able to shout you out and share that out there. But get yourself one of these hats. Support what we're doing here at MHH. Get yourself a football priest hat that you see me wear that Zach's wearing now backwards. Get yourself a Let 'Em Hate t-shirt, a football priest t-shirt, MHH, your favorite podcast, whatever. It's another way to support what we do at Mile High Huddle. Head on over to the merch store, huddleuppod.com. Get yo swag on. And if you're not in a position to do that, it's all good. These three things, each one of you can do, whether you're with us live in the stream or listening after the fact as a podcast on demand. And for what it's worth, Zach, a quick aside, the podcast listeners on Apple Podcasts, just over the last 2 weeks since training camp started, surprise, surprise, the listenership has grown by over 30%. Fans are getting plugged back into what we're doing here, covering the Denver Broncos and the podcast. So it's good to have those of you who are coming back and those of you who are new to what we're doing here with the MHH podcast on Apple Podcasts, on Stitcher, iHeart, Spotify, all of you. We appreciate you. But make sure you're subscribed, and that's especially key on Apple Podcasts. It's especially key on Spotify and YouTube. Like this video or like this podcast. And if you really like what Zach and I are doing for you, bringing you this content every day, even if it's a slow news day, we're going to show up for you. We're going to break down what's going on. And if there's nothing happening, we're still going to find storylines and issues with this team that we're going to break down with you guys. So share it out there. Help us continue to grow. MHH is still, it's exponential growth for us. And we can continue that if you help us by sharing it out. Like-minded friends, family, Broncos fans out there. And then one last thing, gang, before we turn to tonight's topic, become a supporter on Facebook. I'm going to put the link here. If you are one of our great listeners and community members on Facebook, this is how you can support us by becoming an official supporter. It's basically the Facebook version of if you would like to become a Super Chat superstar. We are never going to ask you to do that in terms of like, hey, help us do it. Please do it. It's out there as an option. People reach out to us all the time, and we want you to know how, if you want to support what we're doing here, how you can do it on Facebook. Our community on YouTube is phenomenal, supporting what Zach and I are doing, what the other podcasts are doing. Your support through Super Chat allows us to continue to bring these podcasts on a daily basis. We're looking at other ways, as we've talked about on previous pods. Zach and I are considering requests of doing live streams during the games. We were going to test that out in the preseason, but it looks like, Zach, we're going to have to wait until the actual regular season to debut that. But your support is how we're able to spend the time and dedicate additional time and energy and effort as content creators and analysts to bring you that content. So it's in the chat stream, the link, if you want to become a Facebook supporter.
This is the Overtime Podcast Network.
All right, Zach, this was something John brought to my attention today by a woman by the name of Cynthia Freeland. I hope I pronounced her name correctly, but she's an NFL Network analyst. On Monday morning, she tweeted the following, quote, "Happy Monday, Mike." Well, I'll just do a screen share so you can see this. I'm not going to actually play the video because I don't want to get a copyright infringement. We've been down that road. It really sucks. But as you can see here, she says, "Happy Monday. My QB position group, starter in depth is what it's including. Rankings based on win share, set to dramatic music and awesome play-by-play. What did I get right? What did I get wrong?" Zach, long story short, she has Drew Lock and the Broncos at number 31. What do you take from that, if anything?
Let him hate. I mean, this is the national consensus, Chad. They have no idea what the Broncos are made of. They're not giving Locke any credit because he's a young quarterback and he's an unproven quarterback. The Broncos haven't made the playoffs since 2015. They went 7-9 last year. All these different excuses, all these different factors, which are the truth. It's not embellished. It's the reality. All add into an ignorant, I would say lazy, uninformed opinion of the team. And it's a mischaracterization of what they're going to be in 2020. I don't mind it because, we have a shirt in the store that peddles this type of thinking. Let these people hate on the Broncos. Let the disrespect pile up. Let the bulletin board be filled with nothing but criticism. They will feed off that. But 31, Chad, is a joke. Especially when you compare, they have other teams like the Chargers way higher. And the Chargers are one team that's gotten this offseason hype that I do not understand. But the Broncos, I'll say it again, as much as I don't like these horrible rankings, the only way it's going to change is if they start winning. They put themselves back on the map, which they will do this season. And come January, again, the Nick Wrights, the Freelands of the world, the Adam Ranks, they are going to eat crow with salt and pepper and a fork and a knife.
Maybe a little sriracha to help choke that down. Jerry, by the way, appreciate you. I just want to shout Jerry out. And not because he's rocking the beautiful Mile High Huddle face mask like a boss, but because he has become one of those supporters. He occasionally hops over onto YouTube. He loves watching on Facebook. Occasionally he hops over onto YouTube to show some love and support on Super Chat. But as a Facebook dweller, and I'm one of them, I spend a lot of time on Facebook myself, he has become a supporter, and I want to shout him out. But Zach, it's just, as you say, man, it's just more let him hate. I don't know what she's getting at. I'll be honest with you. I didn't spend a lot of time on this. John, if you want to pop on and explain this, if you know, what does she mean, Zach, by my QB position group rankings based on win share? Win share. I'm not sure exactly what that means.
All these analytics sites, they have these terms like WAR and win share and adjusted win total, stuff like that. I mean, it comes down to wins and losses, Chad. He was 4-1 in 5 starts. He was pretty good. I think he's better than 31 over some of the other quarterbacks in the league who can't hold his jockstrap. It's just me, though. Yeah.
Shout out, Michael. Glad to have you back, my friend, who says he took a break from all social media. First show in a month or so. We missed you, too. And it's great. We've noticed, Zach, we were talking about this off air. We've noticed more and more of the community who were regulars, both on Facebook, YouTube, Periscope, that were regulars all of last season, all the way through the draft, to kind of take a break. 2020 has been pretty hard on people. Just kind of unplugged, took a break. They're coming back in massive waves. And so, Michael, you're of that group, and we're just happy to have you back, dog. Welcome. Shout out to Mundungus, who is going to be on the show Wednesday night. This week, it's going to be the Wizard, Mundungus, joining us for the Super Chat segment. And then we have on the 19th, it's going to be Zachary of ZW Designs, one of our superstars. And then the following week, the last Wednesday of August, it's going to be Chris Hernandez. So then what we're going to do, Zach, we've talked about this. Once the football season rolls around, I think we'll have superstar segments the first and second week of September. But then, Zach, we kind of have to dial it down a little bit. We're not going to stop having superstars on, but instead of doing it every single week, we're probably going to rotate weeks unless opportunity arises. We might be able to still fit it in once a week, but worst case scenario, we're going to do it twice a week. And we'll advise you guys and let you know exactly how that's going to shake out. But for now, you can still look forward to, for at least the next month, every Wednesday night, we're going to have a superstar segment. Mundungus is next up on that list. He says, CV, Zach, will now and forever be called the Nasty Nasty. How do you like that? Should we just call it the Nasty Nasty, as the Wizard says?
The Nasty Nasty. That can go a few different ways, but I'll stick to CV.
Speaking of superstars, and August, I want to say 26th is the date that Chris is going to be joining us, jumping in with a very generous super chat to say,
thank you, Chris.
The hashtag, baby, on the shirt. Let him hate.
That's right.
Love it. Love it, my friend. Good to see you. And John, oh, yeah, we got Glenn in the hizzy. Oh, yes, and this is Mundungus's website that Glenn's plugging here, like a very altruistic, outgoing community member, Glenn, here with a super chat to say, so grateful to raw-books.com and The Wiz for sending a copy of Opting Out for Dummies to my friend Juwan.
We got suckered there.
Hashtag waste of money, hashtag state of being, hashtag MHH. Let them hate. Love that, Glenn. Love that. And Glenn, we want you on the show. When do you want to come on, dude? Do you want to come on first week of September? Let's figure that out. The first Wednesday of September, I should say. Hit me up and let us know if that's something you'd like to do. Do you have
calling him Glenn Langley, Chad?
Do you have Ed? I want to talk to Ed real quick because I see that he's in the stream. I don't know if you can grab him. I don't want my stream to jump quite yet. If you see Ed, put him on because Edward, if you missed last night's show, I botched the shipping of your hat. I could totally spaced doing it last week. Went to the post office today, put your hat in the mail that you won fair and square in the giveaway, whatever it was, a week and some change ago. So it's coming your way. And just wanted you to know that. Apologies for the delay. And here he is showing love. Appreciate you, Ed. He says, Broncos offense, 31st. That's a joke. Let them hate. They will be in the top 15. Also, Chad and Zach, can I get the Let them hate shirt? Denver Broncos for life. # state of being. You know, we can probably make that happen in the very, very near future, Edward. I would like, though, when you get your hat, you rock that Football Priest shirt in your profile pic like a boss already. Add to that the hat. Send us that selfie. We'll vault you out. And we'll keep the Let 'em hate shirt in mind here in the very near future. Trust. All right, let's grab BG. Showing some love. Appreciate you, my friend. He says,
Thank you,
about time you got showed up. Ha ha. I know, dude. Of all the podcasts, we are the ones that are always tardy a little bit, give or take 10, 15 minutes, depending on the day. It's just the way the rhythms of our personal lives work out is we schedule it for 6 with the greatest of intentions. I know it's frustrating for some people. It's just the way the cookie crumbles. What are you going to do? It's instead of 6 to 7, sometimes it's 6:10 to 7:15 or 7:15 or 6:15 to 7:15 local, whatever. But we appreciate your patience. We appreciate you sticking with us, BG. And thank you for the support, as always, my friend. Earth-shattering breaking news here, but it's worth mentioning because it came via an official press release from the team. I'll do one more screen share, not to give you guys freaking creek neck here, going back and forth on – where is it? There it is. Here's the schedule, gang, in case you missed it today. Your Denver Broncos, hopefully you can see this. Now, the 14th, for what it's worth, that's basically when, Zach, my understanding here from this press release, that's when the conditioning period is in the rear view. This is when camp really starts. And by that, you're going to start seeing them working in shells. You're going to start seeing them do more real football stuff from, light contact, the type of contact that basically has been NFL training camps post the 2011 CBA, where, they're just not allowed to do as much full contact stuff. And understandably so, I guess. You don't want them getting hurt too much in training camp. But at the same time, no more Oklahoma drills, I guess. I don't know what kind of an effect that has on tackling and whatnot. But Friday it kicks off, then they get a day off. So they start day 1, day 2 is a day off, and then they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 days in a row. Another day off, 3 days, day off, 3 days, day off, and then it goes on from there. But Zach, that kind of takes us through August, and then we're going to be in September, and the real thing is going to be upon us with the Tennessee Titans coming to town week 1 on the 14th.
It's not earth-shattering news, but we've gotten some questions as to why we're not getting the same coverage in training camp this year. And we've been saying just wait until later in August when they have more practices and it's more of like a normal training camp. We will have more updates coming out. But just seeing that video clip, Chaz, seeing Locke out there with the boys, seeing the rookies out there in their uniforms, it's exciting. It's a reminder that football is around the corner, and we all need this. Every one of us, no matter what our political affiliations are, no matter what differences we have personally, we all want football back, and we're all excited for it in just a few weeks from now.
This is the Overtime Podcast Network.
The Wizard jumping back in. He says, also, the Big Ten at least is talking about postponing till the spring. If so, will the draft be postponed? I can't imagine the NFL is going to postpone anything. That's just not how they roll. So they're just going to have to figure out how to scout this class, and those players are going to have to figure out eligibility-wise how to kind of roll with those punches as well for the NFL draft. I don't know. As I'm not an expert on the draft and all the intricacies that are involved in eligibility, but it will be affected somewhat. It just remains to be seen if that's how it shakes out, how that'll really, come to fruition.
The NFL can't control who plays this year, and the NFL can't control who declares this year, but the NFL can control the draft. And they've had everything go on schedule this offseason, whether it was free agency or the draft or training camps, even though they're amended and they're limited this year, no preseason. They've had everything go off because they don't want to lose the money, and there is revenue to be made in the NFL draft with TV coverage and sponsorships and stuff like that. I would be shocked as of right now, Chad, if the draft doesn't happen next year, though you never know. I mean, that's one thing we learned in 2020. Everything changes by the week. We have to roll with the punches and kind of break down things as they happen. But Chad and I believe that the NFL is not stupid. They want money just like everybody else. They want the show to go on next season. There will be a draft next April.
We're with you on that, Greg. On Facebook, Greg Smith says, feels so bad for the college football seniors. Yeah. And, it is. I mean, it's unfortunate. That's why you're seeing a groundswell today, starting Monday, of this we want to play thing. And Kenneth, by the way, who says on YouTube, I've been representing the Broncos in the National NFL podcast. A Raiders fan said we weren't relevant. And I asked him, where are you even alive? Where were you even alive the last time the Raiders won a Super Bowl? Which is funny. But Kenneth, the reason I'm bringing up your comment here is you should get us a link, put it in the stream. And, or actually, I don't think you can share links in the stream. So if you want to send us a link, DM it or email milehighhuddle@gmail.com. We're happy to shout it out and give you some love, get some eyeballs and ear holes on that podcast. I'm sure the fans and the community would love hearing that. So hit us up. We got Mike Montez, a name I don't recognize, as a Super Chat superstar, showing us some love.
Welcome, Mike.
Thank you. As Zach said, welcome, my friend. He says, go Broncos. Love you guys. We love you too, Mike. And if you're on Twitter, make sure you reach out to myself or Zach, connect with us so that we can shout you out on Twitter after tonight's podcast as a superstar. Appreciate you, my friend. All right, let's see what else is in the stream here. KP, where can we get, as a super chat, appreciate you, my friend, where can we get the official Chad Jensen glasses? New merch store idea. Love the MHH fam. Yeah, this is like, Lens Crafter special. That's all these are.
Just sign them, put them on the store.
But these have the blue light filter. I do so much screen time, with being a digital content creator, being a publisher of a major NFL site, doing the podcast. I got to have this. The one thing I love about these particular glasses, and I don't even know what brand they are. Ralph Lauren, I guess. But it has a blue light filter, which is just a little bit easier on the eyes. By the time you hang it up for the night and you lay down, your eyes aren't quite as tired.
That's a good idea, though, Chad. Maybe have like football priest glasses, like the Raid glasses, where it says football on one lens and priest on the other.
Yes. Hey, man, we can look into it. We'll hit up our merch provider and see if they offer that as a template that we can put some design ideas on top of here.
Stay tuned.
Stay tuned for that. All right, let me just see here. We just had a jump. I see Eclipse is in the house. Good to see you, my friend. All right, there was KP. Bear with me 1 second here, guys. James Campbell makes the point, and hopefully you guys read James Campbell's debut on MHH at milehighhuddle.com last week, pounding the table for the Broncos to move some mountains and go acquire Riley Reef from the Vikings. Great read. James says, Broncos had an awesome draft building around Drew Lock. 2020 NFL draft will go down as the support Drew Lock at all costs draft, which I don't disagree with either one of those premises, Zach, and it's going to be really fun to see how this young team comes together. And that's one thing, too, that Dalton Reisner spoke to last week on Thursday, when kind of the idea of, there's too much hype kind of getting built around this young team. They're all potential and no production, basically. And he says he thinks the hype is justified as far as Drew Lock is concerned. And now that you've got these weapons, as James points out, it could be a rain dance this fall.
Yeah, I'll even take it a step further. We all talk about the season of Patrick Mahomes or the season of Lamar Jackson. This was the off season of Drew Lock, because every single move they made, from personnel to coaching, was with number 3 in mind. That's what I love about the Broncos this year. They established Lock as that franchise quarterback, and they gave him the confidence and the talent and the scheme for him to succeed in 2020. It's very exciting. The hype is there, and now they have to just prove that it's worthy and deserved.
Absolutely. It's going to be fun to see how it shakes out. Amber, appreciate you on Facebook. Shout out to our Facebook community. Terry Randall, the boss, jumping in north of the 49th parallel. And he exemplifies that hashtag, state of being. He says, way to put another chip on the shoulders of the whole team. Good job. Hashtag football priest. We appreciate your support as always, Terry. And, at this point, you wonder how much Drew Lock and the guys are paying attention to that stuff. But from what I'm told and what I hear, they've been paying attention to some of the, I'll just say it kindly, some of the skepticism in the national media that they have for this team heading into 2020.
It's another log on the fire. And, they're people. They're men. They're not just football players. I mean, they take these things personally. They're like you and me. They read everything. They see everything. They're on Twitter. They're seeing all the national comments. They turn on NFL Network and they see 31st ranked quarterback or offense. And it's baloney, Chad. It's ridiculous. And they're going to prove that wrong this year. I'm not even sweating it for 1 second, and neither are they.
We got Marissa Merriman, also a name on Super Chat I don't recognize. Welcome. So welcome and thank you, Marissa, for the support. It means a lot. Again, if you're on Twitter, reach out, connect, let us know who you are, because oftentimes names on YouTube or names on Facebook don't always correspond to Twitter handles. So reach out, let us know who you are, and we will follow back and shout you out. She says, I rarely make it on live, but I always listen later on. You guys are the best, and go Broncos. Let's get it this year. Appreciate that. And yes, we missed Adon, our friend here on YouTube, 6'10". He was out yesterday and he was dealing with, from what I saw on Twitter today anyway, some kind of a blackout, no power where he was. And we missed you yesterday, but we're glad you're with us now, my friend. Appreciate the support as always. He says, sorry I missed out yesterday. Let him hate while we celebrate. Hey, there's another idea. Hashtag eat crow, analysts, and hashtag shouting out his podcast. This is a very savvy guy. Hashtag Broncos talk.
Plug alert.
Attaboy, my dog. Yeah, plug alert indeed. Attaboy. We're happy to support you, though, as we've said with other ventures within the community, like Mundungus's website. And we offer that up to any of you. If you have a business you want us to help you get some eyeballs on or whatever, just let us know. We're happy to shout you out and support you in the community as best we can. We just got to be careful. We don't, it's got to be family friendly type of stuff. What we're saying here. Mike Evans, bona fide superstar. When I say bona fide, this dude is in every single chat. And not only is he in every stream, participating in the conversation and supporting what we're doing here, but he is super chatting every single day. Mike, we love you. And Zach, he's been as consistent as the day is long all year. I can't even think of the last time we streamed and Mike was not in the chat. So Mike, thank you, my friend. Your dedication means everything to us. He says, do you think the national media actually have watched Drew play? I'm confused. You wonder, but I think a lot of them, Zach, to Mike's point here, I think a lot of them just took a quick look at the Broncos 7-9 record. And, honestly, if you polled a lot of these national analysts, I'd be willing to bet probably half of them don't realize Locke went 4-1 as a starter down the stretch. I bet half of them don't even realize that. They'll look at his numbers and they go, oh, and they'll maybe compare it to Kyler Murray, or they'll compare it to Daniel Jones, do the little box score scouting and go, all right, 5 games, 1,000 passing yards, 7 touchdowns, 3 picks, solid, unspectacular. And, you could make that argument based on started out strong. I wouldn't necessarily say fizzled in those final 3 games, but kind of plateaued a little bit. I think a lot of that, as we talked about last night in reference to the Brett Coleman video, I think a lot of that was coaching in terms of he was being coached to be extremely conservative and not, kind of keep things battened down, so to speak. But if you really watch the tape, anyone who's paying attention to Drew Lock last year, and it wasn't just what he did on the field, but what he did on the sidelines, galvanizing the team. I mean, the entire team played better. We're talking about a club that won 3 games rolling into week 13. They'd won 3 games, and then they win their 4 out of their final 5. You can't attribute that purely to Lock's right arm, but it's the tide that raises all ships, Zach, and that's what is so encouraging about this kid.
I wouldn't even be surprised if these national media types, they don't even know that lock started last year. I mean, they knew the Broncos picked up Joe Flacco, and now Flacco's no longer on the team. They look at a 7-9 team who hasn't been in the playoffs in 5 years, a half decade, and that's how they form these opinions. Meanwhile, if they watched the Broncos last year, they saw a really raw quarterback come off the bench, win 4 out of 5 games, handily take down the Texans, handily take down the Chargers. He took down the Raiders in the finale after losing to the Chiefs with limited supporting cast, limited coaching, limited everything around him, and he still went 4-1. To put him at 31st overall, like I said, there's no other word for it. It's uninformed and it's lazy analysis. And that's the common denominator in the national media. That's exactly why when we see a person like Colin Cowherd praise the Broncos or Drew Lock, it's surprising. It shouldn't be surprising. That's what we should be getting at this stage of the offseason with the caliber of talent like Lock and the roster around him now. But it's always a shock when we hear something positive, and yet it's normal when we hear something negative. That has to flip, and that will flip this season.
This is the Overtime Podcast Network.
Jess, CO13 Sports on YouTube, jumping in with a super chat. Appreciate that, Jess.
Thank you.
Jess says, first time, long time. Well, we appreciate that. Seems like we've seen you in the super chat before, but I could be mistaken. Either way, appreciate your support. Means a lot to us. It really does. And I want to shout out Steve Griffith here, who has been really coming on strong as a community member and as a supporter of the podcast. He signed up on Facebook as an official Mile High Huddle supporter. If you guys are interested in that, check out the link in the stream. It's there. Steve, shout out to you, my friend. He says September can't come soon enough. And we definitely are with you on that, my dog, especially with no preseason this year. It's just – we are definitely going through withdrawals here. By this point, we're used to having at least one game that we can all sink our teeth into, some preseason, kind of analyze the way this team is shaping up. And it's looking like, Zach, the YouTube chat just disappeared. Something's going on with YouTube. All we're seeing from 6:31 on, we're sitting here at 6:49, is Facebook comments. I don't know what happened.
Yeah.
Because I know
my side too.
Probably 90% of the concurrent viewers right now are on YouTube, maybe a little less than that. So, gang, if you are on YouTube, hopefully it'll update here very, very soon. But in the meantime, let me just see what's on. And shout out to Leo on Twitter. Thanks for being with us, my friend. If you got any questions or topics you want to get to, go ahead and throw them in there, and we'll see what we can do in the chat here. Michael says, if Locke wears the visor and brings out the sleeve with all that swag, it will be the happiest I've been in my 30 years as a Broncos fan. He does look pretty sick in the visor. And you know what? If it stops sweat and slobber and football bodily fluids from getting in the eyes, hey, even better.
Isn't there some equipment rule, though, where certain players can't wear tinted visors or dark visors? I don't know if that's the case. I might be confused with that, but I would love to see I love to see a quarterback like Locke wear a visor and that long sleeve. I agree. It looks just like it's menacing. I love a quarterback in that style.
All right, Zach, while we have a little bit of a lull, we'll see if YouTube can catch up here. I'm just going to check something real quick on the backside on YouTube and see if things are, it's showing. So we might have to, gang, if you are super chatting or you want to continue to super chat, the stream is delayed, but we can still do it. We can still reverse engineer it. And we'll do that here shortly. But, Zach, I wanted to see as I pull one of these off of YouTube, and I'm going to input it here the old-fashioned way. If you had a chance to look at Lance Sanderson's, he's doing a series each summer, Lance, since he joined MHH. I think this is his third year with us, his third football season with MHH since we crossed paths. He does a know your enemy type of series, kind of going through traditionally what he's done is he's gone through each of the AFC West divisional rivals of the Broncos and kind of updates the fans on all the new changes, the free agent class of the Raiders or the draft class of the Chiefs and all those type of things, what players they lost in free agency or retired or things like that. This year, though, he's changing it up a little bit. What he's deciding to do is he's going position by position in the AFC West and ranking the positions. And so far, he has published 2 installments, one on Sunday and one today on Monday. He started with the quarterbacks, and I want to see if you feel like this is a fair rendering of the Denver Broncos quarterback room with regard to the AFC West. Okay, let me just pull this up real quick, and then we'll grab a few more of these super chats the old-fashioned way. Let me grab this real quick. He's got ranked for the AFC West, ranking the AFC West quarterbacks here. Let me X that out so you guys can see. X that out. All right, so number 4, he's got the Chargers, Tyrod Taylor and Justin Herbert at number 4. If you want some of his reasoning and analysis on each ranking, go to the article at milehighhuddle.com, give it a read. Of course, we want your comments too on site, so make sure you do that. But as you can see here, gang, Drew Lock and the Broncos at 3. And then at number 2, he's got Derek Carr and the Raiders. And then, of course, no surprise, number 1 is Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. Now, Zach, it is our immediate impulse to poo-poo that. But here's what I'll say. I think it's fair considering he's got 5 games under his belt. And although Derek Carr has been trending in the opposite direction, he is more established, and he does have 3 Pro Bowl selections on his resume.
Yeah. That's the only reason he's higher than Drew Lock right now, Chad. I think in terms of upside, in terms of arm talent, Lock gets the nod, no question. And I think he will have the better career in the NFL. I don't hate Lance for ranking these this way. Obviously, number 1, number 4, no brainers. But Derek Carr in 2016, he was a top 12 quarterback in the NFL. He looked really good until he broke his back against the Broncos. I think it was the next season. He was never the same after that. Gruden's got him to be more accurate, but not more explosive. I think Lock has that explosive trait. He has that it factor. He has more charisma than Derek Carr. When it's all said and done after this season, he will be the second best quarterback in the West. But for now, before even his first full-time starting season, I could see number 3 being a fair placement for him in the West.
Yeah, and I think it's fair to say that he's better than what the Chargers have because Herbert is completely unproven in the NFL. And Tyrod Taylor is a journeyman's journeyman. Like
Jag.
He's just a guy. By the way, Bronco Batman jumped in with a $2 super chat. Appreciate you, my friend. He says, and by the way, Bronco Batman, are you on Twitter? If so, let us know what your handle is or reach out on Twitter and let us know so we can connect and shout you out. I tried to search you last night on Twitter. I couldn't find anything in our followings, nothing connected Bronco Batman. So if you are, connect with us there. He says, my son is a Patriots fan. What do I do? Help me, guys. I'll tell you this, Zach, most Patriot fans I know in the Rocky Mountain region are Patriot fans because of the bandwagon. I'm not saying that's your son, Bronco Batman, don't get me wrong, but there's at least, let's say, a 50-50 chance that with Tom Brady going down to Tampa Bay and the opt-outs and everything that the Patriots have suffered, there's a chance that bandwagon, if it's not going to the Super Bowl and the AFC title game, perennial, every single year for the Patriots, that bloom might come off the rose and there might be help yet for your boy.
Yeah, that bandwagon is going to be like a donkey cart, Chad, after this season. And it sounds like, Larry, that you need a football exorcism. Or not Larry, the last comment, I'm sorry, Bronco Batman, and we are your football priests. I don't know in terms of what you're going to do about your son being a Patriots fan, but at least, like Chad mentioned, it's not as unbearable as when Tom Brady, Gronkowski were there. Cam Newton, I think, is not going to be as solid as they think they're getting in him. And hopefully, as Chad said, after the season, that dynasty will officially be crumbled and a new AFC, leader will emerge. Might be the Chiefs, but you know what? I would take the Chiefs. I can stomach them, I think, more than Brady. Their time is up, Chad. They've had their run.
There's also the outside chance, I at least am open to it as a possibility, that Cam Newton might still have a little bit left in the tank. We'll see. By the way, Larry Vaughn jumping in with the $2 super. Appreciate you, Larry. Chad, he says, I'll get that picture to you tonight. And what he's talking about is he put together a unique design. I'll just tease it. And I said, hey, man, get that to me in a transparent background, and maybe we'll look at putting that on the merch store. We'll see. And so he's going to get that to me, and hopefully here in the near future we can debut that and show you guys what he's got cooked up. But it's pretty cool. Zach, you haven't seen it yet. I'll show you after the pod. I don't want to show it while we're live. I could, but I'll wait till Larry's 100% confident with his design before we debut it. But it's pretty cool. Brian Greenfield, BG, jumping in again. Appreciate you, dog. He says, how do you guys keep track jumping around in the chat stream like that? Well, BG, it's very helpful that we have Buona Beast in the control room with us, that he's able to kind of go up and down, back and forth, grabbing stuff. And then we kind of, on Zach and I's side, we kind of keep it linear. Sometimes the chat jumps on us, and then when we go to scroll back up, it'll only let us go so far. That's when you hear us say things like, oh man, the chat just jumped. It means it jumped to the most current point in the stream. And as we try to scroll back up to things we missed, it will only let us go so far. Also, BG said this. That's the same one. This one. Oh, it's trying to show it. Oh, I see what I did. Bear with me 1 second. Let me edit that 1 sec. I have it as a ticker. That's why. Here we go. He says, and very generous, super. Appreciate that, BG.
Thank you, Brian.
He says, I would trade Locke for Kyler Murray, but he's getting 10 times the hype. I don't understand it at all. Hope Drew balls out and dances in the media's faces. So he's saying, I would trade Locke for Kyler Murray, but Murray is getting 10 times the hype. So he thinks that's too much comparatively to Locke. That's a fair question. Would you trade?
No.
If you could take Kyler Murray over Drew Lock, would you do it?
No, you know what? It comes down to preference, and I'm not big on smaller quarterbacks, kind of dual threat quarterbacks. I like traditional pocket passers, prototypical quarterbacks in the NFL, and that's what Drew Lock is, standing 6'3". He's not getting the hype because Kyler Murray was a number 1 overall pick, and Drew Lock was a second-round pick. Kyler Murray started every game last season for a bad team. He won O'Roy because he was a quarterback. Lock only started 5 games. That's the only reason why he's getting more hype. Kyler Murray, he can be a good player. He had some moments last year, but I'm rolling with Lock all day, every day, Chad. That's not even bias. If I wasn't covering the Broncos, I would still take Drew Lock over Kyler Murray.
I would too. And that might seem sacrilege to some of the draft guys who really fell in love with Kyler Murray. But I think, honestly, Zach, I think when it's all said and done and we're reviewing this through the scope of hindsight, 10 years from now even, I think people are going to – I think Drew Lock's resume is going to be more impressive than Kyler Murray's. I'll just leave it at that. Oh, hold on. Well, sorry, Buana. Go ahead and put Ed back on. Let's grab that. Appreciate that, super, my friend.
Thank you,
Much
Ed.
love to you, Ed, a bona fide superstar. And up there on the MHH Mount Rushmore, fell away a little bit, had some things going on, but he's back in the saddle, and we're happy to have you. He says the Broncos will beat the Titans in week 1. He's predicting 24-3. That's quite bold. What do you guys think the score will be week 1 versus the Titans? That's a good question. Zach, I think it's going to be the Titans come out and bully the Broncos a little bit early with that rushing attack because they're going to be in a little bit more of a, in my opinion, they have some momentum from going deep into the playoffs. Everyone's kind of chemistry is established. Ryan Tannehill's coming back. You got Derrick Henry coming back. They'll grind the Broncos a little bit in the first half. But I think that Drew Lock will come back. The Broncos will win this game, but I don't think it's going to be that big of a margin. I think it's going to be something like 27-23.
Yeah, in my first Kelberman's Corner, I did the prediction for this game. I think I had like 19-16 with the Broncos victory. It's going to be a physical game. You're talking about two pretty identical teams, good defenses, good running games, and kind of unproven quarterbacks. I'm not a Ryan Tannehill fan, and Drew Lock does have a lot to prove. It could be rusty for both teams. Coming off no preseason, coming off a weird training camp and a weird offseason. Like Chad mentioned, the Tennessee Titans, they could be more physical to start, but the game being in Denver, and once they settle down in the second half, that's when they'll take over. I think Jarrell Casey will have a revenge game against the Titans. I think Drew Lock will make just enough plays to put his team in a field goal situation at the end, and McManus will draw one in the fourth quarter. So the Broncos, I think, will win. I don't see 24-3, though. I don't see a blowout. I see a very sloppy, physical, hard-fought game that comes down to the fourth quarter. Broncos have the edge.
One bold prediction I'll throw out there is I predict one of these new rookie Bronco offensive players, whether it's Jerry Jeudy, KJ Hamler, I doubt it'll be Alberto, or even a Melvin Gordon. One of those four guys are going to make a game-changing type play or kind of a stab type play that really gets close to the bone for the Titans here. And by the way, is it Hugus? Appreciate that super chat, my friend. I'm sorry we can't show your card on screen because YouTube's being weird right now, but we can grab it off YouTube and put it on the screen ourselves. He says, hey guys, I usually get to watch the next day at work, but love when I can catch you live. Your content keeps me going in a world without football. I appreciate everything. Very sweet, cool. My friend.
Thank you.
Very sweet. Appreciate that. And it's good to have you. If you're on Twitter, reach out so we can connect, my man. We want to be able to shout you out after the show. We got also Ren99 jumping in with a very generous super chat. Thank you.
Appreciate you.
With everything going on this year, do you think we'll get a full season in? And if so, how do you think the Broncos will do? So my way too early prediction was 11-5, but I'm going to re-examine the schedule at the end of this summer. Normally we'd have some preseason with which to kind of go, all right, how are things shaping up? We're not going to have that this year, but I'm still going to re-examine. Zach and I will both do this at the end of this summer, right before the regular season. We'll give you another prediction, but I predicted way too early, Zach, 11-5. I think you were 10-6. You? Right. So we're pretty close in terms of, I'm seeing it probably a little bit rosier than Zach at this moment. But as far as the prospects of the season in terms of, is it going to happen? I remain confident that even if an outbreak occurs somewhere, I think that the NFL has done a good job to kind of put the contingencies in place, allowing for that to happen, to be able to continue to roll with the punches. So I'm really curious to see what happens after week 1 when you got teams from across different parts of the country coming together. You got a Tennessee team coming to Denver playing, swapping bugs and germs, as it were. And it'll be interesting to see coming out of that through the daily testing that all teams are doing, if there are any kind of outbreaks or infections. I'm going to keep my optimistic point of view. And I think that even if there are a few outbreaks here and there, one person test positive or whatever, I think the NFL, the way they've amended the CBA and they've allowed for some additional flexibility with the practice squad, I think you're going to see the season go on. Worst case scenario is you might see like an additional, like an emergency bye week get put in. It's a different place. But I still am optimistic you're going to get a full season.
I'm right there with you, Chad. And the NFL also scheduled the schedule to be flexible, and if anything happened, they can play conference games at certain times. There's different configurations. My bold prediction for the season is that there's going to be some sort of crisis. I think a superstar player will get CV, and the NFL or the teams will have discussions of what they should do, but ultimately it will go on. We will have a full season. So I'm right there with Chad. I prefer to take an optimistic approach to it, not a negative approach. I'm not wringing my hands. I'm not saying don't leave your house, don't go to games, don't enjoy yourselves. I think we're going to have a football season, though at one point or another, maybe in October or November, we're going to deal with some sort of crisis where you're going to see, the check marks and the mob mentality come back. But I think Goodell has enough foresight and staying power to be like, listen, guys, we're going to go forward. Don't panic yet. We'll be fine.
Terry Randall jumping back in, showing some love on Super Chat. No comment, no question, just showing some support and love there. Appreciate you, Terry.
Thank you, Terry.
And we also are hearing from Zeus because, of course, Zeus, if he's in the stream, he's participating in the conversation and he's showing love on Super Chat, supporting what we're doing here at MHH so we can keep bringing you guys this content. And hope you got settled in nicely. I hope everything went well with your new home down there. I know you closed, it seems like. Have you moved in? I'm curious to know how things went. Hope it all went well. Zach, we're sitting here at 49 minutes. We got a little window of time. So while we're still on milehighhuddle.com, I want to grab the Lance article ranking the running backs today, and then we'll go back to the chat stream. We have some very generous supers waiting. We'll get to those here shortly. Just 1 second here. I wanted to get your take on this. So let me blow this up just a little bit. Hopefully you guys can see this better as I scroll through. But ranking the running backs in the AFC West, he's got the Chargers, which includes Austin Eckler, Justin Jackson, Josh Kelly at number 4. Again, go to the article and read it for his analysis on each position here on the rankings. He's got the Chiefs at 3 with Clyde Edwards-Helaire, the rookie first-round pick, DeAndre Washington, and Darwin Thompson. Because remember, Damian Williams, who was a 2019 postseason hero for the Chiefs, opted out like Juwan James. So he's got the Chiefs at 3. And then he's got, is it the Broncos? No, it's the Raiders at 2. Josh Jacobs, Jalen Richard, Devontae Booker, former Bronco, 4th-round pick, and Lynn Bowden Jr. at number 2. And then, of course, the Broncos he's got ranked by process of elimination here. Number 1, Melvin Gordon, Phillip Lindsay, Royce Freeman, and he included Levante Bellamy, although I don't think they're going to end up carrying 4 running backs, but we shall see. Do you think that's a fair ranking for the Broncos?
I do. I think the Chiefs got a great player in Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I think he's going to fit that offense perfectly. But you're talking about, like he says right there, 2,000-yard rushers, former Pro Bowlers, established guys. They can run, they can pass, they can catch. They can pass protect. They can do it all. And they have that two-headed approach in the backfield that they thought they were getting with Phillip Lindsay and Royce Freeman. Now they have it with Melvin Gordon and Phillip Lindsay. And not only that, you have a pissed-off, motivated Phillip Lindsay who's out to prove a lot this season. I don't disagree, Chad. And you throw Royce Freeman in there, a former third-round pick, as your number 3 guy, a bulldozer on early downs or goal line, that's pretty good. I agree with Lance.
I do too. I really do. We kind of poo-pooed the contract Gordon got, but never once did we say that he was not a good running back. He's
despite what people assumed, we didn't say that.
Just because we don't like the contract and we feel like that money should have gone to Phillip Lindsay, it doesn't take away from the fact that Melvin Gordon upgrades the unit significantly. Now, if you went into the 2020 season with Phillip Lindsay as the number 1, then a Royce Freeman and a rookie, and I don't think you're not number 1. Compared to some of perhaps, I think you would have to give the Raiders number 1 ranking there based on the full body of their talent. But I think Gordon, Lance is right there. He puts the Denver Broncos over the top. Derek Green jumping in. Very generous. Appreciate you, my friend.
Thank you, Derek.
Give our best to Adina, and we're still waiting on that selfie when she gets her T-shirt. He says, "Hi, guys. Great to see you as always and showing our support. By the way, we still haven't gotten the shirt, but we'll show it off when it arrives. I know it's shipped, Derek, and I'm pretty sure I emailed you a tracking number. So hopefully you saw that and you can track it. If not, shoot me an email and I'll resend it to you, but I'm pretty sure I forwarded that on. We are excited for you guys to definitely get that T-shirt. And if you guys remember, Adina won that in one of our giveaways a week or 2 back. So appreciate you. And then a very extremely generous super chat here from Damian Clark Warren, who is one of our superstars. It's been, a few pods since I've seen Damian in the chat stream. And as always, he's showing support, showing love. Really appreciate that.
Thank you so much,
Damian.
Yeah.
He says, "Hey, fellas, long time no see. Voldemort has me working hard." Of course, the word that shall go unmentioned. Finally got a minute. Listening to NFL Network, I like all the hate. Gives the guys ammunition to bring the beating.
Yep.
Stick Drew, the beating stick. Drew almost made the playoffs, had the tiebreaker over the Titans. That's true. Came close. If they could have found a way to beat the Chiefs, they would have gotten in. They would have gotten into the playoffs. But they were just outmatched and in the snow, and that just wasn't meant to be. I think it's meant to be this year, though. So I concur with you, Damian, that the stars, reading the tea leaves, we don't have a crystal ball exactly here as your football priest, but reading the tea leaves here, we're stoked on what 2020 has in store for this club.
This is also why I don't even listen to NFL Network anymore, Chad. I don't watch their programming. It's all about these over-the-top antics and these hot takes and these clickbaity things, and I'm not interested in that. I only watch it for highlights and if it reruns of games are on, Chad. But what they're saying, these talking heads, it couldn't be further from the truth. And we all know what the Broncos are about, and they don't. It's as simple as that. Simple as that. Chris, reminding everybody, click those thumbs up. Appreciate that. Smash the like button. We appreciate you guys. The queen of MHH jumping in with aplomb, as she is wont to do. She says, thank you, Christy, by the way. We appreciate you more than we can say here. She says, we need football. Batman, take away, talking about Bronco Batman, his son's the Patriots fan. Take away his phone until he comes to the orange side. LOL. Thanks, Priest. That'll do it.
Idea. But it sounds like maybe his son might be like adult age. Still take the phone.
Doesn't matter. Yeah.
You know what? I know people that are well into their 20s that their cell phone plan is still on their parents' plan, and the parents just pay the bill. If your son has that dynamic, Bronco Batman, shut him off until he comes to the right side.
Or put child lock features on the phone, Chad, and make it he can't access 18 plus until he becomes a Broncos fan.
We got Glenn jumping in again. Appreciate you, my friend. He says Pats fans are complete bandwagoners. I live amongst them. Batman will be speaking with his son by Thanksgiving. # James left because the swamp tickled. Thanks for bringing some money, Glenn. Steve Griffith, who we shouted out on Facebook just a few minutes ago, jumps on over to YouTube. to show some love on Super Chat. He says, got to show my love. And this is what I'm talking about. We bring this up and why we decided to participate when Facebook offered it to us, the opportunity to offer supporter or subscriptions on Facebook to our community. We decided to finally do that because we saw great members of the community like Steve who either discovered the podcast or follow the podcast on Facebook that are trying to find ways as well to jump in on supporting what we're doing here, MHH. And he's doing it both ways. He's a supporter on Facebook and then he's jumping over to YouTube on Super Chat. So Steve, much love to you, my friend. We really appreciate you.
Best fans in the world, Chad.
Amen to that. And we are at 56 minutes, so we got to start winding this down. I see a few more supers here, including, here's the wizard again. He's saying, appreciate that super, Mike. He says 11-5 or 12-4. The wizard has spoken. So he's backing that up. He said that last night too. And Zach, I don't know. You think it's too optimistic, the 11-5 and the 12-4?
You know what? From the wizard's mouth to God's ears, Chad. I can only hope that's the reality.
By the way, BG, clarifying here. He says, and thank you for the super, BG. He says, sorry, I wouldn't trade Locke for Murray. That was a typo. There's only two quarterbacks I'd entertain trading him for, Russell Wilson and Patrick Mahomes, and not sure if I'd even do that. I'm higher on Locke than most of you guys. So he's trying to clarify that narrative. Typos will do that.
I don't know. I'm a pretty big Locke fan, Chad. I don't know if I would take him over Russell Wilson right now, though, or Patrick Mahomes. Those are two of the best quarterbacks in the NFL, and Locke still has a ways to go. So I agree with the premise of that. I wouldn't trade him for Kyler Murray, but you put Mahomes on the table, I don't know if I can turn that down.
I agree. Mahomes, Wilson, that'd be a tough sell, just being honest. I mean, but the premise, you're stoked on Locke. We feel that. It's exciting, finally, for Broncos fans, Zach, to have a bona fide QB with the it factor to get excited about. I mean, we're talking about the last 4 years of the likes of Snooze Fest Simeon, Sack Fest Flacco. Keenum was just about as vanilla as it gets. And, the fans finally have a guy that brings that sizzle. So
don't forget about Dab and Paxton Lynch.
The dorkiest dab that you've ever seen in your life. Dennis Woods jumping back in. Very generous super chat. Dennis, we shouted you out like I said we were going to at the top of this show, and we appreciate your generosity as always, my friend. A bona fide superstar. He says, dealing with a talented, happy, fun-loving person like Locke is contagious. Hence, the success at the end of last season and the optimism for this season. Everyone wants to up their game. Hashtag rising tide lifts all boats. Hashtag state of being. Very well said, Zach. And even from he talks about the talent, fun-loving, the pure joy of the game that Locke has when he's on the field. And I don't want to gush on this kid too much. However, it is Favrean, the way you would see Favre out there on the field, just yucking it up, just having the time of his life. Sometimes you see quarterbacks like you see Aaron Rodgers out there as an example. He's laser focused. He's got the poker face always. Occasionally you'll see the fist pump and he has the belt celebration, or he might have retired that. I don't know. But sometimes you see the personality come out, but he's mostly that laser focused, even keeled guy. And a lot of NFL quarterbacks are that way, not Locke. Locke wears his emotion and his enthusiasm on his sleeve. And as Dennis says, it's contagious.
Yeah, when I was reading that question, Chad, you nailed it. I was thinking Brett Favre, and you just see the backyard football type of mentality that Drew Lock has, making plays on the run, unconventional passing styles, changing his arm angle. He lives, breathes, and eats football, and he loves playing the game. And it's funny that he got more national acclaim for him rapping Kanye and Jeezy on the bench than he did for his 5 starts last year. It just shows that what he does is contagious to the entire team, and he loves football. And you know what? I will take that any day as quarterback of the Denver Broncos.
Amen. We got Ron Dubb, a bona fide superstar, longtime listener of the show and member of this community. Always brings the good questions, and we appreciate the support as always, Ron. He says, hey guys, long time. What position group, offense or defense, is the strength of the Broncos? Do you think it has the firepower to overcome our deficiencies? It's a really good question. That's a really good question. Zach, what's your answer? I'll follow.
Wow, that's a really good question. Rano, you always bring him. I would say as the offense has the ceiling, but I think the defense has the floor. I think the defense is more established right now because the coaching staff is geared toward the defensive side of the ball. Vic Fangio, they have the superstars on that side of the ball, the Von Millers, the Chubbs, the Justin Simmons. They're already more established. Where the Broncos offense, though, a lot of young players, a lot of unproven players, but a lot of highly talented players with a lot of upside. And if they hit that upside, I think they could be better than their defensive counterparts. That's the best way I can put it, Chad. They're really strong all around, but I think the defense, by virtue of having Von Miller alone, a future Hall of Famer, and having Justin Simmons back there, and Boye, and all these other players, Jarrell Casey, a 5-time Pro Bowler, how could you give that side not the nod over the offense?
I'm going to say from a strength, I would have to qualify it. Are we talking potential? Are we talking on paper? Are we talking proven production? Because if we're basing it off potential for the stars to align and things come together, I'm probably going to say just the overall skill positions on offense. It's just so the upgrades just went many leaps forward for this team from the way it ended on December 30th to where this team stands today with Jerry Jeudy, KJ Hamler, on top of Cortland Sutton, on top of Noah Fant, Melvin Gordon, on top of Phillip Lindsay. But on terms of proven production, I'd probably say I'd have to say the safeties, even though it's too deep. You know, you get past Simmons and you get past Jackson, and it's a lot of question marks there. That's a really good question, Ron. I'd have to maybe ponder that a little bit more off the top. But he always brings the good question.
Yeah. Always makes me think. I love those kind of questions.
Love it, my friend. All right, we are going to have to do these last couple supers. Chandler, appreciate that, my friend.
Wow. Thank you.
Very generous super chat. And he says, sending some love to my boys. Chandler, if you're on Twitter, my friend, reach out and let me know who you are. Even if you're already following and it's a different handle so I don't connect the two, reach out, let us know so we can follow back and shout you out after the show. Really appreciate your generosity, my friend. It's good to see you. Let me see here. John,
Wow.
Oh, wow,
Right.
BG. Appreciate you. The individual record holder on Super Chat, for what it's worth, is BG. This was, I don't remember what month it was, but it was during the 2019 football season. And BG had I believe it was a $400 Super Chat, which is an MHH record here for us. And he just continues to be generous and outgoing in his support and contributing to the conversation in the chat. And we agree with you, BG. Football can't get here soon enough.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, the generosity, Brian, thank you so much. It's truly remarkable. And in terms of football season, we've been through what's felt like not just 6 months of CV, but 6 years of CV. It's very, very, I'm delighted, Chad. I love football either way, but what we've been through this offseason, I'm just so excited and so happy for it to be here.
All right, BG again jumps in. Appreciate you, my friend. I dare you guys to name 5 more QBs you would trade Locke for, not named Wilson or Mahomes.
I can name a few.
What do you got?
I mean, for one season, I Drew Brees, I think Aaron Rodgers, those were future Hall of Famers. I would throw Deshaun Watson in there, but he's kind of iffy for me. I would think I would take Locke over most quarterbacks, Chad, but Mahomes and Wilson, it's not a negative viewpoint. It's not biased to say they're better quarterbacks than Drew Lock.
I'm trying to think.
Not Lamar Jackson, though. I don't. Give me Drew Lock any day.
Over Lamar?
Yeah, I'm not a big Lamar Jackson fan. He has to prove it again for another season.
You know, some of the names that are the go-to on the, you know, you take them in their prime. Yeah, I would take them over Drew Lock. Like Aaron Rodgers in his prime, Drew Brees in his prime, Tom Brady in his prime, guys like that. But where they're on the back 9 and then some of their career, they're on like the back 2, the back 3 of their career. I honestly don't know that I would. So, you know, that's another one that we'd have to give. I'd have to give some deeper thought to. But oh man, I'm trying to think who else.
Someone not comparable in his prime that's young is Dak Prescott, but that's a coin flip. You know, depending on your preferences. Both are good quarterbacks.
Maybe I would consider Carson Wentz, maybe. These are names that would be up there that would make me have to really ponder. And there's some people out there shaking their head right now. Oh, you would take you would have to take Carson Wentz over Drew Lock. But Carson Wentz, he had that one flash in the pan, but what's he done since? He's injury prone, dude. And it's unfortunate because he is a very talented young quarterback. But BG, thanks for bringing the good questions, my friend. Mundunga says, the Wizard, appreciate you. Obviously, our strength is our tackles. You can't get any better than hashtag toilet bowls and hashtag eyebrow opt-out. Remember, they say, they say, you can't trust a man with no eyebrows. Our friend Zachary, bona fide superstar, jumping in. Appreciate you, my friend. For the 19th. For the 19th. Super. Really excited. That's right. Zachary's going to be on the show, not this Wednesday, but the next. And it's going to be great. We can't wait to introduce you to Zachary in person. It's going to be a gas, and we look forward to that, Zach. Thank you for the support, as always, my friend. John, I think we're caught up, right? We don't want to miss anybody. Darko, shout out to Darko on Facebook. Says, as always, great podcast. Wanted to ask your opinion about Derek Tusca. I maybe missed it, but have not heard your opinions about him. Derek Tusca, I'll tell you, as we wind this episode down, is a very intriguing guy. Comes from South Dakota State. In fact, the same school. Or is it North Dakota State? It's North Dakota State. Geez, now I just twisted myself up. The same school as Carson Wentz. What is it? Now it's going to bother me.
I think it's North.
It's North Dakota State. Judas Priest. Jensen. North Dakota State. Thank you. All right. So anyway, comes from North Dakota State, but he's got some surprising twitch. He's got some length. He's got a good work ethic, very productive pass rusher, albeit at a lower level of competition in terms of college. But I think he's a guy that you look at what the Broncos have behind Chubb and behind Miller. Jerry Atachu showed some a real fit. He really took to Fangio when he finally kind of settled in that second half of the season. He got his bearings, soaked up the scheme. He played really well in support, put 3.5 sacks on the table, I want to say, in the final 4 or 5 weeks. Outside of him, though, you've got Malik Reed, you've got Justin Hollands, and you got Derek Tusca. And I think Tusca pushes both those guys off of the fourth rush linebacker spot. So he's very intriguing young player. I wish we could be watching him right now in the preseason, because I think you'd be seeing pretty quickly and pretty clearly the kind of talent this kid has. But he has the potential to be one of the sleeper picks. Him and Muti, who, as we all know, if Muti's not an injury case, he probably doesn't make it past the second round out of Fresno State. So that's more of a steal type thing. This is a dark horse kind of sleeper type selection is Derek Tusca. And I think he could be something. He could be a Shaq Barrett level contributor as a Bronco. I'm not talking free agent, leaves the Broncos and then gets 19 sacks Shaq Barrett. I mean the production Shaq Barrett provided while he was a Bronco. Good rotational guy, can come in, bring you 4 to 6 sacks a year, backing up Vaughn and Chubb.
Yeah, this is, I think, a pick for 2021 and beyond. I think in 2020 he'll have the situational role, and Jerry Atachu will be the veteran that he will learn from and take the torch from as the primary pass rusher, like you just laid out, behind Von Miller and Bradley Chubb. I'm still pretty high on Malik Reed, though. I think he will stick around. I think he showed some good juice as a pass rusher. Justin Hollands can play inside or outside. I'm not overly impressed with him. He can go if Tusca beats him out. But I think once he gets his bearings underneath him, Tusca puts on some weight, he learns the Fangio system, he will be a contributor and maybe even a dark horse to be an 8-sack guy as soon as 2021. He has that upside.
All right, gang, we got to get out of here for tonight. Joseph, we did talk about the Brett Coleman video on Drew Lock last night in a little bit more depth. We talked about it a little bit earlier on in tonight's show. If you missed that, circle back and check it out after we stop the stream. In fact, you should, on YouTube, you can navigate backward even now while we're live. But, gang, that's got to do it for tonight's podcast. I went back and looked. I'm 100% confident we did not miss any of our superstars, but we do have to get out of here. So here's where we go from here, gang. Zach and I are off tomorrow night. It's going to be Building the Broncos with Nick Kendall and the skydiving Carl Dummler. He'll have, I'm sure, a great story for you guys to tell of his skydiving experience on tomorrow night's show. So do not miss that. And then Zach and I will be back in the saddle Wednesday night with Bundungus, the Wizard. He's going to join us for a superstar segment, the 8th installment on our series here. So stay tuned for that. In the meantime, make sure you're following the podcast on Twitter at HuddleUpPod. Again, if you are a new Super Chat superstar or just new to the party, whatever, the last few pods, and you're not connected with us on Twitter, be sure to reach out. Let us know who you are. We will follow back. We want to be able to shout you out. Reach out at HuddleUpPod or at Kelberman NFL to follow my partner, Zack Kelberman, or myself at Chad and Jensen. And then, gang, don't forget to follow John. Great Twitter follow. Trust me on this. For Broncos fans, John K. MHH, at John K. MHH. Great follow. And then, like I said, we'll be back Wednesday night. We appreciate each and every one of you for joining us. A mile high salute to our Super Chat superstars. We love you guys, and we appreciate you joining us. So, Zach, have a great start to your week, my friend.
Thank you, you too, and everyone else. See you on Wednesday. Hopefully, have DeMar Dotson news to break down. Chad is signing.
I think we will. So, keep your fingers crossed, gang, and we will see you Wednesday night. For Zack Kelberman, I'm Chad Jensen. We'll talk to you then.
You've been listening to the Huddle Up Podcast. Join Broncos Country's deep divers at milehighhuddle.com to keep the conversation going.